All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the new Ridgeline podcast. I'm Devin Dunnigan, and here today, as always, is Mr. Stephen Mott. How you doing, brother?
Crap. I'm doing great, brother Jake C. Drummer.
All righty, and we also have here our frequent guest and friend, Mr. James Dean Potts. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome this day, except for the heat. The heat kind of made it bad, but except for that, yeah, it's been a great day. Awesome day.
Oh, all righty, so we are back today, and we're going to be reviewing the 1997 album by none other than Kiss, Carnival Souls, the final sessions, also just simply known as Carnival Souls. This record released on October 28th, 1997, just a few months after the reunion tour was completed. It was completed in July. This came out in October. Produced by Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, and Toby Wright. Their 17th studio record, recorded from November 1995 to February 1996. I almost said 1976. The longest Kiss album, clocking in over an hour. Featured a change from hard rock to a more grunge based sound or alternative. I get kind of shades of both on here. And yeah, this is kind of known as Kiss Goes Grunge, or like I used to call it Kiss in Chains because of Alice in Chains, and then Kiss basically trying to do what they were doing. And yeah, this stayed kind of in development for a long time before it came out. And it actually ended up coming out basically because it was highly bootlegged. It somehow got leaked in between the finishing of the record and then the reunion tour and then its final release. And that was one thing kind of awkward about this album, is because it's not the original lineup on here. It was just like the previous lineup, the Revenge lineup from 1992 to 1996, the Eric Singer, Bruce Kulick, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley lineup, which was an extremely tight lineup musically. And it was released kind of at the last minute. I mean, while the reunion was kind of in full-fledged, it was pretty much, the reunion was in full effect by that time period. And releasing this was kind of weird, but you did have two singles released off the record, one kind of commercial single, and the other one was a promotional single, and went number 27 on the Billboard Pop Albums chart. And I think that's kind of respectable. If, I mean, at the time, this being the final non-makeup album being released, and it was as different as it was, and the final album to feature Bruce Kulick as an official member. He would be out of the band before this album's release, of course, in 96. And he would appear on another album later on. And this would also be the last to feature Eric Singer until the recording of the Ramones cover, Do You Remember Rock and Roll Radio, in 2003, and then his final appearance on a studio album until Sonic Boom in 2009. And the only Kiss album that has never had any songs performed off the record. Now, that means by Kiss. Now, Bruce Kulick has performed some of these songs live with his own band, so I mean, just not by Kiss. This is the least represented album in the Kiss catalog. And Bruce Kulick plays bass on half of this album and writes about the same amount or maybe a little bit more. But yeah, this is such an interesting album. I mean, this is basically Kiss Goes Grunge, and that was the mantra that they went with from the start. Gene Simmons went in basically with the idea of, let's forget we're Kiss. Let's just basically start over. Let's reinvent ourselves. And originally, from everything that I've researched, Bob Ezrin, who had produced Revenge, he was involved initially to kind of steer things in the general direction. And then they got introduced to Toby Wright through Bob Ezrin. So Toby Wright had produced some Alice in Chains records. He did, I know, Jar of Flies and the self-titled album. So, I mean, he was kind of in that general genre at the time he was involved. And so having him produce this album was kind of, at least to me, the right direction to go in for them doing that. And it's just kind of interesting that they chose this direction to go, but it's really not that surprising because, I mean, Kiss has been known to follow trends throughout their career. And Paul Stanley hates this record from everything that I've read. He generally dislikes this album a lot. Everyone else seems to have been really on board with the album. Bruce Kulick, he loved the heavier, more guitar-led direction. And Eric Singer, I never saw him say that much of a negative thing about the record. So, I mean, as far as I know, the rest of the band enjoyed it. I mean, even Gene said he didn't regret the album in the book Behind the Mask. So that was pretty interesting to me. And it was kind of, I've listened to an interview with Toby Wright, the producer of the album, and he says when they went in to do the album, he said Gene basically said, I want to be Billy Corgan, of course, the leader of the Smashing Pumpkins. And Toby Wright asked him, he was like, why do you want to be Billy Corgan? What makes you want to be Billy Corgan? He was like, you're a legend in your own right. And he says that he would have rather them have done like an actual true blue Kiss album than what they ended up doing. But he said he did follow in that direction and kept them on the best direction that he could with it. Album. So, I mean, yeah, this to me is generally kind of the lost Kiss album. It's the one no one hardly ever talks about. It's kind of a thing of either you like it or you hate it. And I really actually like this album a lot. So, I mean, it doesn't come without its negatives. I will talk quite a bit about the negatives for me. And I mean, I discovered this album. It's actually kind of a funny story how I discovered this album. I remember going to a Walmart. I can't remember where it was. I was young, and I've been a huge Kiss fan ever since I was young. And everything I saw that had the Kiss logo on it, I had to have it. And I saw this album. I knew it was non-makeup Kiss. And back in the day, non-makeup Kiss was real interesting to me because I really didn't have direct sort of, I couldn't really, it wasn't that accessible to me to get because the albums weren't generally sold at like Walmart or places like that. You had to kind of search them out at like an FYE or something like that. That's where you found kind of those latter day Kiss albums. Now, the earlier stuff you could probably find in the $5 bin at Walmart back in the day. But I remember finding this one, and it had non-makeup Kiss. And ooh, I got to have that. That's pretty interesting. I didn't know any of the guys except Gene and Paul. And I remember seeing Bruce Kulick with a beard, and I was like, that's kind of weird. Like, I'm not used to him looking like that. And I remember we put the album in the CD player, and my parents really, they weren't, at least my dad wasn't too keen on the non-makeup era of Kiss. He grew up in the 70s. That was the Kiss he really knew. And he later got back into them in the late 90s with the reunion and all. But we put the CD in, and the intro to this album, which we'll get into, scared the crap out of me. Back in the day, there was some elements of Kiss that just really creeped me out. And when I heard that, I remember just like, what the heck is this? And it really creeped me out and just like disturbed me a lot. And then I remember waking up, and they was no longer playing. So I'm pretty sure they probably never finished the album. I remember my dad used to, when he would talk about stuff that was like really heavy like this, he would always say like it was hard. It was hard music. And that was what he said about this record. It was like a hard album. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, like I said, the Lost Kiss album released during the reunion. So, I mean, it was kind of like it was relatively obscured. And the bootleg versions, I've heard several people say like some of the songs weren't on the bootleg album, and the album eventually released had extra songs. And I've also heard like the bootleg didn't sound too far off from what the final album sounded like. I've seen copies floating around on like eBay and stuff at times, and I would be interested to hear that mix of the album if it's any different. I'm sure it's probably not, but I mean, originally the working title of this album, and me and Steven talked a little bit about it off recording and all. The original working title for this album was Head, which is kind of interesting. And the original album cover featured none other than a head on the front of it, and like this weird mask with flames coming from its head. And it was a really weird album cover, to say the least. And you can look it up online. It's all over the internet, and if you watch the home video that they released in '94, you can actually see the working art for this album in that video. So they were already planning this album all the way back at least in '93 and '94. Some of these songs were recorded or not recorded, just demoed in around like '93 and '94. And yeah, that they also float around online as well. You can hear those on YouTube. So I mean, I've babbled a lot here with my opening, but I had a lot to say about this album. I generally find this album and this era in music very interesting because all these bands went this direction. I mean, not only Kiss, I mean, Def Leppard went heavy, Dokken went kind of in the alternative direction. Motley Crue, when they brought in John Corabi to sing, it was in this kind of direction. I mean, Van Halen with Balance, they were kind of generally in a kind of like a darker direction lyric wise and musically. It was kind of a more mature sound for them. And I mean, it's just an interesting time in music. I mean, all of these bands were either dead and gone or basically trying to change to sell records. I mean, even like in the previous episode we did, Osmosis was the similar kind of thing. They were trying to be, it was Ozzy trying to be grunge. So, I mean, Steven, before I keep going here, take your opening thoughts on this album.
Well, my opening thought is this record is called Carnival of Souls, the final sessions. And which I kind of didn't notice at first, but when I got to really looking at the album today, I was like, wait, why does it say the final sessions? And I was like, But anyway, I looked at the album cover, and it's just the guy standing around, and I'm like, okay, well, this looks like a demo or something. Then I listened to it, and then I said, well, this must be a demo. And then Devin says it basically was in a way. So, I mean, the production was very, very raw, and but that's just kind of the impression I had, and that also that I was under the impression by Devin that Gene Simmons pretty much spearheaded this. So I don't know, I might be wrong, but and I could kind of guess that myself. But anyway, so yeah, this is within the past couple of days. This is my first time hearing this record, and not gonna give anything away, but I mean, it was quite different. So than the one I'm used to. So back to you, Devin.
All righty. Yeah, the final sessions title, it was just basically relating to basically this was the end of this version of the band. This was the final outing for this version of the band. And the album cover, like the final album cover, is kind of interesting because it's just four guys standing around. It It's the first album since heck Crazy Nights that had all the four guys on the album cover. But I thought it was a cool look. It was very, like you said, kind of raw, and I thought that was kind of cool. But Dean, what are your initial thoughts on this record?
You asking about my opinion on the whole album, or just my face thoughts?
Your initial thoughts, yeah.
It was very interesting. It sounds a lot like the type of stuff I listen to. I was surprised when I hate it because what I got from Kiss was like the 70s. You know, when they was dressed up, they had their mask, you know, kind of like you said your father had. And that's what I come into this album expecting to hear. And I heard this new flavor, and automatically I fell in love. So I do have a lot to say about this album. But back to you.
All righty, and just kind of another tidbit. I think the title for this record, Carnival of Souls, is not a good title. Do I think Head was a better title? No. Oh, not really. I would have preferred this album to be maybe called The Final Sessions or something. I kind of think Carnival of Souls as a title, it's interesting, but it kind of sucks. It kind of puts off a little bit more of like, it kind of puts off the album to be something it's not. It's you would think like this would be something like maybe the next record, Psycho Circus, opposed to just like this grungy, darker direction. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this record though. So the first track, Hate. Since you're our guest, Dean, take the track Hate.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my initial thought just said that. I come into this album, and this is the first song that shows up, Hate. I already like the name of it. You know, I seen the album cover, I was like, okay, let's see how this is, because it seems a little different. Next thing you know, I'm in love, I'm in a trance. I love this song, the riffage, the chorus, the pre-chorus, the you know, the bridge, everything about it. I loved everything about it. I guess the only thing I wouldn't be a fan of is not necessarily the vocals, but the vocalists. But aside from that, I absolutely love this song, and I was happy to experience it. Back to you.
All righty. So Stephen, take Hate.
Well, I can relate to the title of this song because I have a strong hate for this song and this record. Just to get it started off pretty good with this episode, and just to, you know, just make a statement here. And this song makes a statement, and my comment, my notes say word for word, I would never be sitting around and then all of a sudden want to listen to this song. So, basically, same thing I said like about Ozzy and stuff. Like I could listen to it if I had to, like, and kind of dig it somewhat, but it's just not something that I would seek out, to go listen to. And it's like they're trying to be. I'm gonna make a lot of points that's kind of similar to this throughout the episode, but I think that first of all, I think Gene Simmons should have sung on this whole album. First of all, I don't think Paul Stanley should have sang at all. And I think Gene. I've always kind of pictured Gene being like a metal type singer. Because he's got that gravelly voice, sort of, and he can do that, deep thing with it, or he can sing a little bit higher, but if he wants, he can sound a little different if he wants to, and did with a lot of Kiss stuff, where to the point where you couldn't even tell it's the same person in my opinion. But that's just kind of from the outside looking in, I guess. But because I'm not 100% familiar with it all. But anyway, so this song is okay compared to the other songs on the album. It's probably of the better ones. But I mean, anyway, so I mean, back to you, Devin.
All righty, so Hate. So the intro is actually really cool. The one I talked about that creeped me out quite a bit. And an interesting way to start the album, kind of gives me like a vibe of like Destroyer with like the beginning of Detroit Rock City. And then they did something similar with Psycho Circus with the beginning of that track. And it features Billy Corgan's name with the part of Corgan backward masked. So if you play it frontward, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe this, but if you take it and put it like and you reverse it to where it'll go forward, it'll say Billy Corgan instead of what it says. It almost sounds like he says Billy Bruce Kulick instead of Corgan, but it says it's Corgan backward masked. And I thought that was kind of an interesting kind of nod to him or whatever. Pretty much the track Unholy, but I mean, just kind of the sister song to it. Amazing song, great opener, hard and heavy. Was originally supposed to be the second single off the record, but was never released. The band firing on all cylinders. Reminds me a lot of Them Bones by Alice in Chains, mixed in with, of course, like I said, Unholy from the previous record, Revenge. There's a little bit of thrash on here, maybe like from Metallica or Megadeth. The best song on the album by far, in my opinion, and Eric Singer just bashing away on the drums. Probably, I mean, Eric Singer would probably be my favorite drummer technical wise, but Eric Carr would probably be my overall favorite drummer. But I mean, Peter Criss he's definitely up there as well, but he's a great drummer, probably their best technical drummer. A great solo by Bruce Kulick, and the production kind of works for this song, but we'll get more into that as we go on. And I like the instrumentation quite a bit on this song. So we move right on into the next track, Rain. So Dean, take Rain.
The initial heaviness coming, okay, yeah. The initial heaviness coming into this song, that grit that, you can hear the power beginning. And the drums, like you said, just about the last song on Eric's part, great. I love the drums. Now, I probably couldn't play them. I mean, even if they're simple. But overall, I love this song. And I can't really say it's one of my favorites on the album because there's so many of them on this album that I'm just so adored with. I like heavy stuff. I like hard, metal. Well, I guess you could say grunge. And this just kind of fits where I stand on music. But really, overall, I just love the heaviness coming into the song with the guitar, and I can hear the bass pretty well on this one. Well, I can hear it pretty well on all of them. And I like when they kind of try to step the bassist up a little bit because, without them, you wouldn't have a same sound. You'd kind of be missing something. And you wouldn't be able to tell, but you could understand, like you could hear that you'd be missing it. Anyways, I just love this song, and I just love the heaviness. Not okay. Again, I'm not a big fan of the vocalist. I like the vocals, but I'm not a big fan of the vocalist. But back to you, Devin.
All righty. So, Stephen, your turn.
Okay. Number 2, Rain. Trying to be metal, poor attempt. Stick to rock and to bear production, comma. Sounds like two pieces of crap hitting up against each other. That's my notes verbatim. And unfortunately, this is only the second track of this album, and I was getting ready to start throwing stuff at the wall at this point. I mean, it was that bad. I mean, this album never. It's like it can't go downhill because it's already as far as it can go down. It never went back up. But basically, and I forgot something I was gonna say for the first track. I think it was the first song that it reminded me of a Van Halen song in only one way because of the intro of it. Because I remember the intro of Honey Baby Sweetie Doll. It's just crazy Van Halen song, off the wall sounding, but the intro is just like that. And that's what it reminded me of. And I went back and listened to it, and I was like, that's just almost the exact same thing. But I mean, you know, just sound effects or whatever. But I mean, just whatever, because I'm trying to make any kind of point I can that's interesting, because it's kind of hard with this one. But number 2, Rain. I mean, it's not that great of a song in any way, shape, or form. It took every fabric of my being to listen to this album all the way through. I mean, it really took a lot of effort, because, I mean, I just don't know. It was bad. So back to you, Devin.
So, Rain When I Die. Rain. So, a dark, doomy song. I dig it, but not the best placement for this song. It would have been much better as kind of like the middle of the record. Not a great second track. And when I said Rain When I Die, listen to Rain When I Die by Alice in Chains and then get back with me. Same exact song, just about. The timing of the song is pretty interesting. And I remember seeing a video. It's on the Kissology Volume 3 DVD set, where they're actually studio footage. And they're recording harmonies. When he said, I think it's going to rain, then they come in, well, I think it's going to rain with harmonies. It's Bruce and Gene harmonizing. That should have been on the final song. That would have actually kind of bumped it up a little bit as a song. And a cool bridge in the song. It sounds very alternative, and great solo by Bruce. This is such a departure for a Kiss song, and I do think the placement of this song takes a little bit away from it. And there's some cool effects with like the little dings after like the chorus and all by Eric. I like that quite a bit. And it does kind of sound a tad bit unfinished, in my opinion. And also, just another little tidbit, this features bass from none other than Bruce Kulick. So Bruce Kulick plays the bass on this song. So, yeah, let's move on to the next track, Master and Slave. So, Dean, take Master and Slave.
Have you guys noticed that this lead singer sounds kind of like Ozzy Osbourne? He does.
Oh no. Oh no.
I don't know. I guess it's just me. Anyways, Master and Slave. Excuse me. Another one that I love, the main thing that I noticed in this song, which is pretty apparent, is the bass line that carries into the song, that goes into the song. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I might try to figure out how to do it myself, and I don't even really play bass. I did for a little bit, but I, kind of gave up on it. But just that bass line and those, and really getting into the song, it's pretty heavy too. Uh, the 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 heaviness in all these songs, just the impact is what I love, and that's what I crave. I crave heaviness and dark and whatever. So getting into this, like what I do, the solo, I'm not a big fan of that. The solo is kind of like, I'm not. I guess I'm not a big fan of solos unless it's kind of short and sweet. But I'm just not a big fan of it, of the solo. But I do like that beginning. It's like it starts out pretty good, and then the further it gets on into the song, the worse it gets. That's what it feels like. Uh, it does start the bass line back again after the solo, and that's pretty cool too. I mean, it's the same thing, but anyway, I love that. That's what I hate in this song. That's what I love in this song, and that's what I appreciate is that they let that bassist step up on this one. And well, I think that's about it. That's about it that I can say about this one. But yeah, you're gonna have to do a lot of editing. Anyways, that's what I love about this song. I love this, and it's like I said, I love the beast that comes out in these instruments. The instrumental creativity that comes out. That's what I and the heaviness. Back to you, Devin.
All righty. So, Steve, take Master and Slave.
Crap. Okay, I had to unmute it. I thought it was unmuted. Okay, so well, I mean, you might as well be saying Master of Puppets because they're trying to be Metallica. Okay. The
Okay.
worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Um, Gene can sing this stuff, but Paul can't. He sounds stupid trying to sing this stuff. And this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. But there was another word in there, but I couldn't add that. But just I mean, track number 3. I mean, I will say that the album, it all kind of fit together pretty well, but it didn't flow too nicely though, because the production, I will say the production is too raw. It wasn't like, usually it seems like the ideal Kiss setting would be drums and bass, obviously, but then a rhythm guitar, and then another guitar with that. You know, say for example, if they were playing live, Paul Stanley rhythm, and then let's just say Bruce Kulick on lead. You know, but on this record, I mean, at times there's 2 guitars, but most of the time it's one, and I don't know, it's just the Kiss sound just goes off better, like with the 2 guitar sound to me. But if that makes any sense. But I mean, this is crap. I mean, I've never seen anything like this.
I can't believe this.
I've heard stuff like this, but I've never seen it. That doesn't make any sense. But I mean, honestly, I would rather go listen to Strength Beyond Strength by Pantera than this. 100%. So back to you, Devin.
All righty. So, Master and Slave. So, a great fast song. Should have been the second song on the record following Hate. This is a obvious rip-off of the Prunella Scales song called Crisp. Prunella Scales is this very obscure band that Rachel Bolan of Skid Row was in. Also gives me a vibe of like Stone Temple Pilots. And kind of the interesting thing is Stone Temple Pilots kind of took the idea of a Kiss song and put it on one of their albums, and that was kind of funny. Then this was the second single, but did not chart. It was only a promotional single, did not chart. Eric Singer just bashing those freaking drums on this song. The counting before the breakdown is a bit much. No. The breakdown with the guitar reminds me a lot of Smells Like Teen Spirit, or just Nirvana in general, kind of a lot of their sound. A heavy song, and great solo by Bruce Kulick. Love the breakdown at the end. And the bass is awesome on this song, played by none other than Gene Simmons. And that Paul scream in the middle of the song is very interesting. I don't know whether he's talking about wake up and start to scream, and he just screams to kind of nod as a nod to the word scream, or if he's actually saying wake up and start to love. And here we go. So, Stephen, I agree with you 100%. Paul sticks out like a sore freaking thumb on this record.
I agree too, actually.
He does. He just, you can tell he was not into this record at all, and he just does not fit. And he's a great vocalist. His vocals are great on this record, but yeah,
No.
I mean, too forced on this record, and it's been a while before I revisited this record to do this episode. But yeah, I mean, too forced. Way too forced. So yeah, that's all I have for the song. I like it a lot. It has also kind of a punk feel to it as well. So yeah, the next track is Childhood's. Go ahead.
I'd like to hear this whole album. Instead of him singing, I'd like to hear Gene Simmons get on the vocals. I do the same thing or whatever, but I'd like to hear Gene Simmons because I'm a big fan of his vocals instead.
Yeah. So the next track is Childhood's End. So Dean, take Childhood's End.
Here again, great creativity. A lot of this, I wish that I had in myself when I'm making music, that I wish I could come up with this stuff, because I'm not as creative as what I wish I was. I just, a lot of times I just got to do covers because I just can't come up with anything, because I'm like, what hasn't been made? And I know a lot of these songs actually sound like other bands, and the songs, it's almost like they named the songs somewhat like letting you hit around, hey, we're kind of making this talk like off of this song. That's what it feels like to me. But it's Childhood's End. I love how, they do that kind of sync thing with the bass and the guitar, and I feel like I can hear two guitars in there. I'm not sure, like a duo. I'm kind of confused on that part. But the chord progression and the riffage in this song just starts turning into a masterpiece. And I have to say that this one is probably one of my favorites on the album, if not my favorite on the album. Like I said, again, great creativity. I love how the bass sticks out and how I can hear it, and how those drums just get heavy and the guitar gets heavy. They got that heavy tone, that almost octaved tone. And just now the vocals again. The vocals in this song, I'm in the vocalist. I'd rather have Gene Simmons. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like his. It just sounds like something Gene Simmons would sing instead. And I don't know why they decided to let the other guy sing, and I can't even remember the guy's name now. You just said his name. I don't remember it now. Anyways, I'm just a fan of Gene Simmons' vocals. But as said, I'll quit my speech on this specific song, but this is one of my favorite on the records. Just to clear that up, this is one of my on the records. What? This is one of my favorite songs on the album. Okay. And I just basically, I love the bass and I love the sinkage, the riffage, the heaviness, and the vocals just they got to do something about that. Well, I mean they can't now; it's already produced. But just take and put Gene Simmons at place, and probably that would probably make this whole album so much better just to hear Gene Simmons taking that vocal lead. But anyways, back to you, Devin.
All righty. So Stephen, take Childhood's End.
This was one of the more decent ones on the record. Well, this is track number 4. And Gene, here's verbatim notes. Gene should have sung on this whole record, Paul sucks, comma, and just no. That's what I had wrote. And same thing as I said before, but, you know, come what may. I mean, I'm going to say the same crap over and over because it is crap. I mean, but this number 4 song probably, I don't know. I won't say it should be the opener, but I mean, this is probably one of the better ones on the record, and I'll say one of the more recognizable ones, or something along those lines. And but anyway, so I don't know. This song is like okay, but I still, when I listen to it, I just start going, well, it's just still got something a little bit missing, but it's a pretty good song. It's decent, the songwriting itself. But I don't know who produced this record, but they needed to beef it up a good bit. But so back to you, Devin.
All righty. So Childhood's End. So this is probably the most classic Kiss sounding song on the record. It has an alternative feel to it, kind of opposed to grunge. There's still grunge elements in here, but it kind of sounds a little bit more alternative with the way the guitars sound and stuff like that. I like it. I think this should have been a single. And I like the children's choir. I think they actually add a lot to the recording. It adds a lot of atmosphere to it and kind of makes it feel like a song off of Destroyer. And a great solo by Bruce, one of the more straightforward solos on here. And I like kind of the harmonizing stuff he does during the solo. Kind of, yes. It makes it sound like a dual guitar. I like that quite a bit. Yes. And I like the throwback to God of Thunder at the end of the song. And so this kind of became one of the more recognizable songs off the record. This kind of became a go-to to a lot of people. And it's on the box set that came out in 2001, and it's also made its way onto several compilations. And it should have just been a single. And the interesting thing about the box set version, it's Childhood's End with Coda. So the thing about that was there was an outro that was supposed to be on this album. And some people say it was supposed to be tacked on to the end of this album, and then other people say it was supposed to be tacked on at the end of this song. Regardless, it ended up on the box set tacked onto this song. To me, that's the definitive version of this song with that instrumental at the end of it. It's really cool, really heavy riff. And if I put it in a playlist, that's the version I'm going to use, is the one with the coda. And I thought that was very interesting that they put that on the box set like that. But yeah, I like this song quite a bit. And yeah, it's like I said, it's one of the more recognizable to fans, and it's been on several compilations over the years. So we go to the next track on here, I Will Be There. So Dean, take I Will Be There.
All right. Kind of a, I guess, acoustic add-on. It sticks out in this album. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a good song. I do like this song. But yeah, it's like one of the ones that kind of stick out to me that I can tell is different than the rest of the album. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm completely lost. I've completely lost my train of thought, and I'm confused. I'm beaten. I'm battered, and I think I need a new brain because I've banged this one out. I've talked so much. I've lost control. I've lost my sensation in all my limbs. I don't know what I'm saying, but this song was pretty. This was a good song, and I enjoyed it. I could listen to this one all the way to the end. It wasn't. It was different, but it's not one of my favorites. It was probably. It's one of the ones I put on like kind of on the upper level of the ones I'm not a big fan of, but I do like it. I like how it's different. I guess how they changed it up and put, it's a kind of I guess, an acoustic sound. And anyways, just good song. I can't really say anything that stuck out except for that, and I guess the bass a little bit. Like I've said on, like, I guess the other 5 that we just got done talking about. But I enjoyed this song. I could listen to it over and over and over again, like, a few of the other ones on this album. But back to you, Devin.
All righty. So Stephen, take I Will Be There.
I Will Be There. I don't want it to be there. Not good. Not too bad. Not even a good song. Like, not even good songwriting. Nothing about it. It's good.
Wow.
I mean, no.
I'm shocked at this response.
No. Gene should have followed his own advice and his lyrics. I mean, this song said it was going to do one thing, and it didn't. Don't say you will if you won't, people. Okay, that's the words to the wise of this episode. And this song is bad. No, I mean, this this album is too long. The songs themselves are too long. The riffs were decent, I will say. I guess maybe Bruce Kulick came up with them up to the point of this episode, the recording. I didn't know that Bruce Kulick was even the one on this record because, I mean, his playing is so much different than what I know of. Like, for example, on the video on YouTube of the Animalized, from the Animalized tour, I think that's what it is, of Bruce Kulick playing like lead and stuff. It's just nothing like this at all. I would have never guessed that. Now, I did guess that they had some random off the wall session guitars coming up with these metal riffs and stuff, but I didn't think it was Bruce Kulick, to be honest. But I mean, whatever. I mean, I just don't know. I wouldn't have thought it was him because and there should have been more solos on this record. That's my last comment, and to whom it may concern. So back to you, David.
All righty. So I Will Be There. So this was written about Paul Stanley's son. And regardless of Paul's opinion on this record, he at least does like this song. This was kind of the middle ground for him. He said, of all the darkness that surrounded the album, he said this was the one subject that he could at least cling to. And he, at one point in time, I heard that this was his son's favorite Kiss song. So that's pretty interesting. A really cool song. The working title was Acoustic Song. And great, cool, unique instrumentation on this song. I like that a lot, the acoustic elements and stuff like that. The only quote unquote ballad type song on the record, but I would be hard pressed to even consider it to be a ballad. I think it's more like an epic, and a great solo, and the strings add a lot of atmosphere to the song. And some great vocals by Paul, and Bruce Kulick plays the bass on this particular song. So we then move to the next track on here, Jungle. So Dean, take Jungle.
I have nothing to say about this song. This is the way song on the album. It is, in my opinion, at least. I don't like this song. I listened to it and I tried to listen to it again, but I didn't make it in, not even to the half middle of it, because it just didn't sound good to me. It was kind of just like something to fill in the spot, something to kind of fill in that empty space, and which they could have took Jungle completely off the album, make it shorter, because it is a long album. I agree with Steven on that. It is a long album. It could be shorter, but this song, they could have took this off. They actually could have took off probably take off Rain. Probably take off Rain and Jungle, make it just 10 songs, because they're not really appealing. They're just kind of like, well, I mean, it's an idea. Let's put it on there because we can. And no, don't put it on there. If you know you're going to go, before you put the album out, before you even play it on stage or do any of that, just take and look at it again and say, no, this isn't going to fit. I don't know if they couldn't hear it or say it or what it was, but the Jungle was just kind of trash. It was trash. I'm not a big fan of it. Okay, well, it did have a few good little bass lines in there, but even the bass lines wasn't good. Not really. I mean, I'm not saying the bass player was quiet, but it wasn't a good bass line. It wasn't good creativity. So basically, I don't know. I can't even remember what I rated Rain. I did say the beginning riff was awesome. I remember saying that. The beginning riff of Rain, and I'm not trying to go back over and like repeat myself, but Rain did have a good riffage in the beginning. But then when it got on further into the song, it kind of just cracked itself out and ended up out the tailpipe, water dripping, muddy, crappy, gooey, terrible. So basically, I don't like this song. It shouldn't be on the album. Now, okay. If Steven said he didn't want, if Steven says he doesn't like this song, I will completely agree with him, because that is correct. I don't know what's wrong with him, why he doesn't like the other ones. He's like I said, everyone help him out, because he is mentally challenged. He needs a therapist and all, but he doesn't need a therapist if he says his song's quiet. If he can take, you can take the therapist away, then he can just talk to a friend like me or Devin, and we can help him and situate what's going on in his mind. But Jungle, it's quiet. I can't like it. I couldn't even listen to it. I just skipped it. I skipped it after maybe not even halfway, probably like I'd say 2 minutes in, maybe. I just cut it off. I didn't like Jungle. Bad song. Back to you, Devin.
All righty. So Steven, take Jungle.
Well, tell you what. I mean, This is the greatest song I've ever heard in my life. I'm
Oh
just
my
kidding.
gosh.
I'm just trying to go against Dean. But it's Jungle. It hurt every fabric of my very being to have to listen to this song. But there was a word in between there, but yeah. There's an E added onto the end of it, so it makes it a little bit better, but I'm not gonna say it.
We'll speak
Because
about this
Devin
experience later,
because
brother. We will.
Devin would get mad. So basically, number 6, and we're literally halfway through, and I'm literally done with this album, in all accounts, because my ears just completely blocked themselves off. When I've trained my ears to be able to have a defense mechanism when it's bad music to just stop hearing it. Like if I can't get to the pause button, they just shut down automatically. I can just snap my finger a certain way, and it's gone. And this one, I mean, it just reminds me a lot of a song like called "This Is Doo Doo," because it is. I'm just making up joke now, honestly, because this is bad. I mean, halfway through the record, and it's already probably like 20 minutes. So no, it's too daggum long. I mean, how even long is this whole record? Because no. No. So back to you, Devin.
All righty. So this is the
Hmm.
best song Kiss ever recorded.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
No, I'm just kidding. So my notes read, heck yeah. The bass is awesome on this song, with Bruce Kulick playing the bass, actually. Love this track. The first single, and it went number 8 on the Billboard Rock Tracks chart, their highest since Heaven's on Fire in 1984. Kind of reminds me a bit of Stone Temple Pilots, and the pre-chorus reminds me of the song Shine by Collective Soul. Kind of a very epic sounding, sort of psychedelic type song. Has been performed by Bruce Kulick multiple times in different bands he's been
I'm
in.
astonished
When
by
he was
this
in
discovery.
Union,
I can't
and
believe
he was
this.
also when he was in the Eric Singer project. Has a huge grunge feel to it, and I think some of the chorus has alternative vibes. Very jam based, it kind of feels like throughout the song. Has also kind of an eclectic feel to it. And Eric Singer's still doing amazing on this song. Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer spotlight to me on this track. And it just kind of seems like as this album goes along, the production is starting to get muddier and muddier. So that's all I've got to say. So we go on to the second half of the record with In My Head. So Stephen Tate or Dean Take In My Head.
Beautiful. Definitely the beginning. Absolutely beautiful song. It sounds kind of like I can't think of them now. I cannot think of them right now, but it sounds familiar. It sounds very familiar. But it's beautiful. I love it. I'm glad they did it. And it just gets grittiness. You hear that awesome distortion, that heaviness in the beginning, and then you start breaking down, and then you start getting into the song, and they start just pounding, and it's just that bass and those drums just kind of hitting it, and then the singer kind of tries to get heavier with his vocals or whatever. He does something different in the song, and he tries to sound heavier in this song, which is okay. I mean, I like it. This is probably the one set of vocals, just this little portion though, not the rest of the song, just this little portion that I actually do like. The vocals in the whole song, vocalist in the whole song, in the whole album, I mean. But I love the feeling of this song. I love the power. Like I said this about the other ones. I'm gonna say it about some more. Be prepared. I'm not done yet. Uh, but yeah, just beautiful, beautiful song. Just heavy, just coming in, and then you get on later, and they do the same. They do the same riffage with the bass and the drums, and then they add that other guitar that comes in and just keeps on with his alternative, sounds like alternative picking. Just it's just a great song, an amazing song. I guess it's kind of like no, probably not Avenged Sevenfold. No, it sounds like something Metallica made. Something Metallica made. I can't remember what song, but I'm sure. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, beautiful song, heavy, just like the rest of this album. Just heavy, just just add it, just put it in there. Just it's great. I'm actually going to try to learn how to play all these songs. Watch. I'll be in I will be in the store. I'll be in Walmart. I'm going to stand right in the middle of the Walmart. Actually, I'm going to be on the roof of Walmart, and I'm going to play this whole entire album except for Jungle, Rain, and whatever other song that I can't remember right now that I didn't like. I'm going to take the good songs in this album, and I'm just going to play like an instrumental on top of Walmart because it's just that good to me. It's just that good to me. I just love it. I'm in love with it. Love it. Great. Back to you, Devin.
All righty. So, Stephen, take In My Head.
Well, I'll tell you what. This song is not in my head. It's not stuck in my head. It never will be, because if it gets stuck in my head, then I will evaporate quickly from existence. This record is missing lots of lead guitar. And I had Bruce Kulick type lead guitar, but that's before Devin told me that Bruce Kulick is the guitarist. Well, I mean, that shows how much research I do prior to this stuff. I just go like notes and then listening to it, and then I don't really do research or look at Wikipedia most of the time. But I probably should, because I was about to make myself look really dumb. I probably still did, but I mean, Bruce Kulick, I never would have thought that was him. It crossed my mind, but I was like, that's probably not him. But it was. And I was thinking, like, there's just not Paul playing. I don't think. Paul can play well, but I don't think he would probably do this kind of stuff if I had to guess. I mean, it's pretty off the wall, is all I can say.
It's so good you don't need lead guitar. That's how good it is.
I mean, like, it's track 7, and I wish it was track 13, because there is no track 13. So back to you, Devin.
All righty, so In My Head. Oh my, this doesn't deserve to be on the record. A very bad song. I like the vibe, and it's very thrashy sounding, but it just feels slung together. I like the heaviness and the darkness a lot, but it just sounds like an idea opposed to a final song. And a total train wreck in a lot of ways. The guitar seems to kind of slowly move up in the mix during the verses, which is actually kind of cool. It kind of like rises up to the top during the verses. That's kind of cool. It's kind of like a build up there. And then cool solo by Bruce, and Eric still just blowing up the drums on this album. And to me, Bruce Kulick and Eric Singer are the MVPs of this record. So, I mean, not a good song. I like the idea, but other than that, No. So we move to the next track. It Never Goes Away. Dean, take It Never Goes Away.
Everyone, I'm not sure if I'm friends with these guys. I'm completely different. Okay. Anyway. Okay, this next song, It Never Goes Away. It is another one on this album that's unique. It's great. I didn't have to take notes on any of these. I mean, it was just that good. I don't need notes because it's in my head because I love it so much. Like the last song, in my head. This whole album is in my head except for the crap songs. I kind of push them out of my head because they're kind of taking up space and I need more storage. But great song, and I know you. Yeah, you know what I was about to say. Yeah, this feels like spinning around your head, like it don't go away. It doesn't go away. It like how it stays spinning around your head in that beginning. That is awesome. That's epic. I don't know how they did that. I would actually like to do that with some of my music. Like figure out how they did that. I'll figure it out. I listened to this specific song on surround sound. I got like surround sound on the device that I listen to this stuff on, and I turned that surround sound on just so I could get the full grasp of what it was doing. And I had my earbuds in, so yeah, I got like the whole like cycle. How it just feels like it's going in a circle around your head. It's epic. It is awesome. Okay, getting into the actual song, great. Griffith is great. Not necessarily out there standing. Not nothing necessarily new, but it is beautiful. Great, heaviness. The heaviness is what really gets me in the music. And Satan, notes that they put in there, like a lot of the minors and stuff like that. But, just mainly the heaviness is what's got me so glad to this song. And the rest of this album. And this music is a mood. If you're peed off, I'm a censorship. If you're paid off, then this is a great genre to look at when you just feel like you're having a bad day, and everything just seems to not be going your way. You just want something to kind of, get your aggressiveness out. You listen to this, you can get that aggressiveness out, and like I want to do this because, and I want to bang a dumpster, or, do some of that crazy wild stuff, the fun stuff and all. But you listen to this music, you don't have to because it's all going away. You listen to them, and this is what I do. A lot of my therapy is this music. A lot of the reason why I don't lose my mind a lot of times when I get mad and I get sad and listen back and forth, I just listen to this music and it takes me out of this world and it puts me in a new place that makes me feel better. So I just love this song. It's unique. It's one of my favorites on the album, and I like the like I said again, like I'm saying over and over again, the creativity. Just love it. It gives me new ideas on ways I can improvise or change what I'm doing, or it gives me like it puts more ideas in my head for when I'm wanting to come up with something or play something or just, do like take one song and do a metal cover of it. This would be like a type of style of metal, or well, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could kind of call it metal. It's more of a like you guys said, a grunge, but it's heavy. just that heavy sound, just a heavy cover. And like I said, love this song. I love how it spins around your head in a way, how they get into that riffage and all. And I just got to keep on mentioning this because I'm just not a big fan of the vocalist. I really wish that Gene Simmons went on for the vocals for this record. The whole entire thing. I wish he did do the vocals because I love Gene Simmons in a way because his kind of his appearance in the musical world, in the rock and roll world, or just the hard rock, the heavy, just his appearance is kind of like important. I mean, they did start the trend in a certain time period because I mean they was good. I'll give them that. But yeah, Gene Simmons is just cool to me. And when they had the mask and the makeup, when they had all that, it was pretty cool to me, obviously, because I'm a metalhead, I guess. It looks very metalheady. Looks very metalheady. And I just love that. And I love this. I just love this track. I'm going to quit talking because I'm saying too much. But back to you, Devin.
All righty. So, Stephen, take it. Never goes away.
Well, that's a perfect description of this song and this album. It never goes away, and that's what I want it to do. Because unfortunately, I mean, it's just it doesn't seduce anything. Seduction of the innocent. It doesn't seduce the innocent or anybody. I mean, it never goes away, and it's not in my head. So, this and my comments say that very thing verbatim. This song never goes away, and I just don't know.